The book also tackles some of the common myths about ethical selling head on.
Okay.
Some people think it means you're going to be a pushover.
Right.
Or that you're going to have to sacrifice profits.
Like being ethical means you can't be successful in sales.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But ethical selling argues the opposite. It says, those are just misconceptions.
Okay.
When you build a reputation for honesty and integrity, people are actually more likely to do business with you.
It's like that long game thinking, right?
Yeah.
Building relationships that last and lead to repeat business.
Absolutely.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes.
Welcome to our deep dive. It's all about ethical selling this time.
Okay, great.
We're going to be looking at Ethical Selling, the book by Fred Copestake.
Right.
And we really want to get to the heart of what it takes to build trust and long-term success, This deep dive is really designed to help everyone listening understand, what ethical selling is all about.
Yeah.
And why it's not just this, feel-good philosophy,
Right.
but really a powerful approach that can, transform how we do business.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how this book really kind of flips the script on the old, pushy way of selling.
Right.
And really argues that building real trust with your customers is the key to unlocking those incredible, win-win outcomes.
Exactly. It's not about manipulating people into buying something they don't need.
Yeah.
Or just trying to hit your quota.
Yeah.
This book introduces the ethical model, which I think is super cool. It lays out kind of the foundation for building those strong customer relationships.
It gives you a really clear roadmap, I think.
Yeah.
And each of the letters stands for something.
Okay.
So it's empathetic communication,
Right.
transparency and integrity,
Okay.
holistic, value-centric approach, informed decision-making,
Yes.
collaborative relationships, adaptive negotiation,
Okay.
and learning and growth.
Learning and growth. I love that. And just imagine using empathetic communication during a sales call. You're not just trying to close a deal.
Yeah.
You're genuinely connecting with the customer,
Right.
understanding their pain points and helping them find the right solutions.
Yeah, it's such a shift from that old transactional mindset to, truly becoming a trusted advisor
Yeah.
who's looking out for their best interests.
Right. And transparency and integrity is huge these days,
Yeah.
especially with so much information out there, right? Customers can spot a phony a mile away, so being upfront about your product's limitations can actually build trust.
It's counterintuitive, but it totally works.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you're willing to admit a flaw, it makes you more relatable.
Yes.
It shows that you're not trying to hide anything.
It's human.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes you human, it makes you relatable, it makes you more believable.
This book actually traces how sales techniques have evolved over the decades.
Oh, okay.
So back in the 1950s, it was all about the process.
Like the classic sales funnel.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Then in the 60s, the focus shifted to personality and psychology.
Okay, so the smooth-talking salesperson.
Absolutely, yeah. I could charm anyone into buying anything.
Okay.
But as we moved into the 70s and 80s, the focus shifted first to the benefits of a product,
Right.
and then to closing techniques.
Okay.
But things started to change in the 90s
Okay.
with the rise of consultative selling.
That's when salespeople really began to position themselves more as advisors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to understand the customer's needs and provide solutions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Then in the 2000s, there was this greater emphasis on proving your credibility and expertise, often using social media.
Yeah.
And then into the 2010s, we've seen a continued emphasis on the need to prove your sales stature,
Right.
which is a concept we've discussed previously.
Okay.
So it's fascinating to see how the whole sales landscape has been shifting
Yeah.
toward building authentic connections
Right.
and providing real value,
Yeah.
which is exactly what ethical selling is all about.
Exactly.
And the book also tackles some of the common myths about ethical selling head on.
Okay.
Some people think it means you're going to be a pushover.
Right.
Or that you're going to have to sacrifice profits.
Being ethical means you can't be successful in sales.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But ethical selling argues the opposite. It says, those are just misconceptions.
Okay.
When you build a reputation for honesty and integrity, people are actually more likely to do business with you.
It's like that long game thinking, right?
Yeah.
Building relationships that last and lead to repeat business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is emotional intelligence, or EQ.
Okay.
We talk a lot about EQ on the show.
Mm-hmm.
This book really dives deep into the power of EQ.
Yeah.
It's not enough to know your product.
Right.
You need to understand your own emotions.
Yeah.
And how to read other people's cues.
Think about it this way. A salesperson with high EQ can sense when a customer is hesitant
Right.
or confused,
Yeah.
and they can adapt their approach accordingly. They can build rapport and create a more comfortable, trusting environment
Right.
for the customer.
So it really breaks it down into these 4 components, right?
Yeah.
Self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
self-management,
Yes.
social awareness,
Uh-huh.
and relationship management.
Right.
Like it's having this superpower
Right.
that helps you connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Understand their needs and build those genuine relationships that lead to long-term success. Absolutely. And this book gives you practical tips for sharpening those key skills
Okay.
that are essential for ethical selling.
Right.
And active listening is a big one.
It's not just about hearing what the customer is saying. It's
Yeah.
about really tuning in, absorbing their message.
And the book actually talks about different levels of listening.
Okay.
Like sometimes we just skim the surface,
Yeah.
not fully paying attention.
Right.
Other times we're selectively listening,
Mm-hmm.
only hearing what we want to hear.
Right. Right.
But with active listening, we're fully engaged.
Yeah.
Using techniques like verbal attends to show we're paying attention, paraphrasing to make sure we understand,
Okay.
and summarizing to kind of bring it all together.
So it's like going from, passively watching a movie to being completely immersed in the story.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there are questioning skills.
Right.
It's not just about asking random questions.
Right.
It's about asking the right questions that uncover the customer's deeper needs and motivations.
The book talks about using open-ended questions,
Yeah.
like the kind that can't be answered with a simple yes or no, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like starting your questions with what, why, how, when, where, and who can be incredibly powerful. But it also explains that there are different types of questions you can ask for different purposes, like context questions to get the big picture, circumstance questions to understand the specifics of their situation, consequence questions to kind of explore the potential outcomes, and even check-back questions to confirm understanding, and commitment questions to gauge their level of buy-in.
It's like having a secret decoder ring, right?
Yeah.
To like unlock what the customer is really thinking and feeling.
Mhm.
It's about going beyond the surface, getting to the heart of their needs.
And that leads to better solutions and stronger relationships.
Exactly. Speaking of building trust, the book also dives into the importance of transparency and integrity in ethical selling.
Transparency is about being upfront with customers, even when it comes to the limitations of your product or service.
So this goes back to that counterintuitive idea we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Like leading with a flaw.
The book explains how our brains are naturally wired to focus on negatives. So by acknowledging potential drawbacks up front, you're actually addressing those underlying concerns and building trust.
That's so interesting. So you're like disarming the customer's skepticism.
Yeah.
And showing them that you're not trying to hide anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's this concept of mutual action plans.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So it's about creating this shared roadmap, like a document outlining the steps,
Okay.
commitments,
Yeah.
and milestones needed to reach the desired outcome. It's about working together, not just making a sale and disappearing.
So it's like creating a partnership agreement in a way.
Yeah.
Where both the salesperson and the customer are invested in achieving success.
Exactly. It's a clear demonstration of your commitment to their success, which in turn builds trust and loyalty.
Right. It's not just about making that quick sale. It's about fostering a relationship that can grow over time.
Yeah. And all of this really sets the stage for shifting from that transactional mindset to a value-centric one,
Okay.
which is what we'll dive into next.
Okay, awesome.
In the next part, we'll get into the heart of value-centric selling, exploring how to really understand your customers' needs and deliver solutions that make a difference.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So we talked about ethical selling and like building trust, focusing on EQ,
Right.
all that. So now let's get into, this whole value-centric selling. What is it? What's the big idea?
So it's really a major shift. I mean, it's going from just pushing products to truly understanding
Okay.
what matters to your customer
Right.
and then delivering on that.
Okay.
The book defines value kind of interestingly.
Oh.
It says, value is something that is held in high regard, something that is important, worthwhile, or useful.
But isn't value kind of like subjective?
Yeah.
What's valuable to one person might not be valuable to another.
Totally. And that's actually one of the 7 challenges of value selling
Okay.
that this book breaks down.
Okay.
Recognizing that value and
Mhm.
how people perceive it is constantly changing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how that would be tricky.
Yeah.
Especially, in today's market.
Oh,
Everything's moving so fast.
Yeah.
So how do you even begin to nail down what your customers truly value?
Well, the book emphasizes empathy and active listening,
Okay.
really getting into your customer's world,
Right.
understanding their pain points,
Mm-hmm.
their goals, their dreams.
Okay.
It's also about staying on top of market trends
Right.
and really being aware of how customer behavior is evolving.
So it's not just about having a great product. It's about understanding
Yeah.
how that product fits into, the bigger picture of your customer's life or their business.
Absolutely. And then there's the challenge of communicating your value proposition
Right.
in a way that resonates with them. You can have the best product in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can't explain why it matters to your customer,
Yeah.
you're not going to make the sale.
Right. The book talks about differentiating in ways that matter, which I think is key.
Yes.
It's not just listing features and benefits.
Right.
It's about connecting those features and benefits to
Yeah.
the specific values and needs of your customer.
Exactly. You need to stand out from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You have to demonstrate why your solution is uniquely valuable to them. And then, of course, capturing that value through price.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot where you're offering a fair price that reflects the value you're providing, but you're also making a profit.
There's that win-win.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've talked about understanding and communicating value.
Yeah.
But what about actually delivering on those promises?
That's the final piece. It's the most important part. If you overpromise and underdeliver, you're going to damage your reputation. You're going to lose trust. Ethical selling means being honest
Right.
about what you can deliver and then going above and beyond to exceed expectations.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that ethical selling is just for those one-on-one, interactions with customers.
Yeah.
But what about selling at a higher level?
Right.
C-level executives?
Yeah.
Does ethical selling still apply?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, it might even be more critical when you're dealing with executives. The book has a whole section
Okay.
on selling at the C level.
Yeah.
And it really stresses the importance of tailoring your approach
Okay.
to address their specific concerns.
So it's not just about knowing your product.
Correct.
It's about understanding,
Yeah.
the complexities of their business
Yeah.
and the pressures they face.
Right. The book introduces this framework called PIRATE.
Pirate.
Yeah. As a guide for navigating those high-level sales conversations.
Okay.
So it stands for plan, identify, research, approach, talk, and evolve.
Okay, break that down for me.
Okay, so plan is about setting your strategy, really being deliberate about selling at this level.
Mm-hmm.
Identify is about understanding the organization's goals
Okay.
and who the key decision makers are.
Okay.
Research involves digging deep to understand their challenges
Mm-hmm.
and how your solution could help.
Right?
Approach is about finding the right way to connect with them, whether it's through a referral, LinkedIn, or a really well-crafted email.
So it's like you're building a case before you even walk in the door.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then talk emphasizes having a structured, value-driven conversation
Mm-hmm.
that focuses on their needs and concerns.
Right.
And finally, evolve is all about following up strategically and nurturing that relationship over time.
So you're taking those core principles of ethical selling and applying them
Yeah.
to a more complex, high-stakes environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, you can't talk about the future of selling without talking about AI.
Right.
So how does the book address AI?
Well, this book dives right into it. It acknowledges how AI is changing the game
Mm-hmm.
and provides examples of how tools like ChatGPT can enhance research,
Okay.
communication, and personalization
Right.
in sales.
I'm curious, though, some people might be wary of using AI in sales, right?
Yeah.
They might think it feels impersonal or
Yeah.
even manipulative.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So how does the book address that?
Well, it really emphasizes the importance of using AI ethically and responsibly,
Okay.
always keeping that human element at a forefront.
So it's about using AI to augment your skills.
Right.
not replace them entirely.
Exactly, yeah. It's like having a really smooth assistant
Mm-hmm.
who can help you gather insights
Okay.
and craft really compelling messages,
Right.
but you're still the one driving the conversation
Yeah.
and building those relationships.
Right.
It even introduces this cool model called rapid
Yeah. Okay.
for using AI to research a potential customer. So it stands for role, aim, pressure, impact, and dreams.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. How does it work?
Okay, well, you can use AI tools to research someone's role within their organization,
Okay.
their professional aims,
Mm-hmm.
their ambitions, the pressures that they're facing, the impact they're trying to make,
Right.
and even their long-term dreams.
Wow. It's like having this cheat sheet to
Yeah,
understanding, what makes someone tick.
but it's important to remember
Okay.
that it's just a starting point.
Right.
You still need to use your EQ,
Mm-hmm.
your listening skills, your intuition
Yeah.
to build that genuine connection.
I love how this book blends, those high-tech tools with those essential human skills.
Yeah.
It's about finding that perfect balance between efficiency and authenticity.
Absolutely.
Okay. Speaking of balance, the book also delves into informed decision-making, emphasizing the importance of empowering your customers.
Right.
So giving them the information they need
Yeah.
to make the best choice for themselves.
Right. Without any pressure or manipulation.
Right.
The book talks about effective qualification techniques
Okay.
to make sure you're pursuing the right opportunities, those where your solution can truly make a difference. So it introduces these frameworks like MAN, TC,
Okay.
and Scotsman
Scotsman. Okay.
to help you assess kind of the viability of a deal.
So those are acronyms for different criteria you should be considering.
Yeah.
Does the customer have the budget,
Yeah.
the authority to make the decision,
Yeah.
a need for your solution,
Mm-hmm.
a realistic timeline, and a competitive landscape that makes sense?
Yeah, exactly. But the book also goes deeper into the psychology of qualification. It talks about using the Partnership Approach Questionnaire, or PTAQ,
Okay.
to gauge whether a potential customer is really open to a collaborative approach.
So you're not just qualifying the deal. You're qualifying the relationship.
Exactly. Ethical selling is all about finding those customers who are looking for a true partner,
Mm-hmm.
someone who understands their needs and is committed to their success.
Yeah.
And once you've identified those ideal customers,
Okay.
you need to be prepared to navigate those crucial negotiation phases.
Okay, let's talk about that. The next part is all about adaptive negotiation.
Really?
That's where things could get a little tricky.
Yeah, but it's also where things can get really exciting. We'll explore how to approach negotiation ethically and effectively, creating win-win outcomes that strengthen relationships and build lasting success.
Sounds good. All right, so we talked about EQ and AI and value-centric selling and all that, but this last part of our deep dive really hits home for me. It's all about how to make sure your career is not just a job, but reflects who you are,
Yeah, it's about creating a career that's both successful and fulfilling, where your work aligns with your values. It's more important than ever, I think.
Yeah, totally. And this book really talks about how the world of sales is changing so rapidly. And, with technology advancing at warp speed and customers having more choices than ever, it's easy to get lost or disconnected. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And that's where having a strong sense of purpose really comes in. When your work aligns with your values, it kind of gives you this compass to navigate all that complexity and make decisions that feel right, both personally and professionally.
I love that analogy, a compass. It's like having that inner guidance system that helps you stay on track, even when things get crazy.
The book actually talks about building a strong personal brand, but not in a superficial self-promotion way. It's about building a brand that's rooted in authenticity and integrity.
Right. So it's not just about what you say, it's really about what you do, how you show up.
Right. It's about walking the talk, living your values in every interaction, whether you're talking to a customer, a colleague, or even, your family.
Right. And the book breaks down personal branding into these 3 elements: purpose, practice, and profile. And I just find it so fascinating how it all ties back to ethical selling. These principles kind of weave their way through every aspect of your career,
Totally, yeah. Purpose is about understanding your why. Why do you do what you do? What impact do you want to have on the world? It's about connecting your work to something bigger than yourself.
And that's where things start to feel really meaningful. It's not just about closing deals, it's about making a difference.
Exactly. And then practice is all about consistently delivering on your promises, exceeding expectations, demonstrating your expertise, and building that reputation for excellence.
Like that old saying, actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. And finally, profile is about effectively communicating your value to the world. It's about crafting your message, sharing your story, and building those connections that help you kind of stand out from the crowd.
So it's not just having like a fancy LinkedIn profile, it's about living your brand every single day.
Right. And when you do that, when your actions align with your values, it really transforms your work from just a job into like a calling.
Right. Powerful stuff. It's like having that feeling of flow where your work like energizes you rather than drains you.
Yeah. And the book even provides like a roadmap for actually aligning your values with your professional journey. It starts with self-reflection.
Okay, so taking some time to think about what matters most.
Yeah, exactly. What are your core values? What are your non-negotiables? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world? And once you have a clear understanding of those values, then you can start to observe like how your current work aligns with them.
It's almost like holding up a mirror to your career,
Yeah.
like seeing, okay, what reflects back? Are there areas where there's like a perfect match? Are there areas where there's a disconnect?
Exactly. And then comes the action phase. This is where you start to make changes to bridge that gap between your values and your work.
And that could involve anything from like having a conversation with your boss about taking on different responsibilities to, something bigger, like switching careers or even starting your own business.
Yeah. It's about taking ownership
Yeah.
of your career path and making choices that align with your authentic self.
And, it's an ongoing process, right?
Yeah, for sure. Values can evolve.
Mm-hmm.
The world of work is constantly changing. You need to be willing to adapt,
Yeah.
adjust course along the way.
It's like tending to a garden,
right.
You've got to nurture it, prune it, and make adjustments as needed to help it flourish.
That's a great analogy.
Speaking of growth, this book also emphasizes continuous learning, and adaptation. You have to stay curious, seek out new knowledge, have new experiences, and be open to feedback.
Yeah, embracing that growth mindset like we've talked about before, always striving to learn and improve.
Right, and setting goals that are aligned with your values. So it's not just about, climbing the ladder. It's about creating a career that feels meaningful and fulfilling.
Yeah, that's the key.
Wow. This has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. I feel like this book, Ethical Selling, it's like a framework for not just, succeeding in sales, but succeeding in life.
I completely agree. It's about building genuine relationships, creating value, living a life that's aligned with your values.
As we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with this question. If ethical selling is about creating win-win scenarios, how can you apply this principle to all areas of your life, not just your career?
Yeah, that's something to think about. I encourage everyone to explore this book, Ethical Selling, by Fred Copestake, and see how you can incorporate these principles into your own life, personally and professionally.
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference over time. So take that first step, whatever it may be, towards becoming a more ethical, effective human being. And just watch as your life becomes more fulfilling and your impact on the world grows. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to make a positive difference in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.